Hello, and welcome to the Union Pacific Railroad Geneva Subdivision in N-Scale. My name is Daryl Cruz, builder and owner of the layout, and your host for episode 28, which is part 2 of the Union Pacific train ILTAH. That's an intermodal train from Lathrop, California to the Ashland Yard in Chicago, with a stop at Global 3 in Rochelle, Illinois, which is what you're looking at right now. And if you saw part 1, you were able to see the ILTAH depart from the West Staging Yard and pull into Global 3 here, and we've done some swapping out of cars on the east end of the train. And now we are continuing the car movements on the west end of the train. At Global 3, we have 2 sets of locomotives, 2 yard crews that work both ends of the train. And on the east end of the train, we have the yard crew cut 2 cars out of the train. And now on this end, the west end, we're going to be adding 2 cars from the classification tracks to train ILTAH. And you can see that taking place as we have a couple of trains rolling through, 2 crude oil trains, both an eastbound and a westbound, with lots of crude oil tank cars by the BLMA. So if you look at the switch list here, we have 2 cars that need to be picked up. And the first car is this 3-well articulated car with the XPO and looks like hub group containers. So we're going to go ahead and cut that away from the rest of the cars in that classification track, and then go ahead and tack it onto the train. As I said, this is part 2 of what's going to turn out to be a 3-part. I was thinking initially of just having it be one video, but it takes a lot longer to do these switching moves than I realized. So the first one I did, posted yesterday. I think that was like close to 30 minutes in length. And then this one, which was going to be part 2, when I finished putting it all together, it turned out to be over 40 minutes. So we're actually going to divide this part 2 into two parts. So there's going to actually be 3 parts. And part 2 is going to be just adding cars to the train, and then also doing some movement of cars between the classification tracks and the load and unload track. So it looks like the road crew is picking up the second car also. So if you count them up, it right now, as after it uncouples here, has 9 wells, which basically is 3 sets of articulated well cars. I think they're Maxi 5s, or I can't remember what they are. So it's only picking up 2 of them. So one of the sets is the one closest to us right now. and the second set is the set that's closest to the locomotives, and we'll put those on the train, and then we'll set the middle set back into the classification track, since that's not one of the cars that needs to be added to this particular train. I'm going to try and post part 3 tomorrow. I can't guarantee that that's going to actually happen, but that's my intent. And part 3 will be the locomotives reconnecting to the train and then pulling out of the yard with the train and finishing the route across the Geneva sub to Chicago. Alright, so we have one set added to the train, and now we'll go ahead and put the cars that's not to be added back in the classification track. Alright, finally now it will place the second set of cars, or the second car, onto the train. And then before we have the locomotives tie back up to it and head out, there are a couple of car movements we need to do within the yard. We need to move some of the cars from the load-unload tracks into the classification tracks, and then move some of the cars from the classification tracks to the load and unload tracks. First thing we're going to do though here is push the train forward so it's out of the way, and we can then have the yard throat available to conduct the car movements. As you're watching the video, you can check out the throttles in the lower right hand corner there. The yard crew is the 2025. Yeah, that's the throttle at the bottom. There's 3 throttles running at this time, so it's the one at the bottom there. The other 2 are mainline trains that are running, and there's actually a third train that's running. There's 4 altogether. The yard crew's running, and then 3 different trains are running on the main line, just to add some operational interest. If I need to adjust that third one, I'll just have to release one of the ones that's on there and call that one up, and you can go back and forth on these throttles. All right, get a little bit different viewpoint now. For this portion, what I decided to do, I have a second smartphone that has the 3 mainline engines on it, and so the one that's on the screen is just the throttle, or the smartphone that's running the yard crew here. Since I just have that one up, I also have room at the bottom for the track schematics that I can also use to throw turnouts and so forth. Don't think I'll be doing that though very much in this particular video. Alright, so basically what we're going to be doing is pulling all the cars out of the load and unload tracks, and we're going to be placing them into the classification tracks, and then we're going to be taking some cars from the classification tracks and moving them to the load and unload. We're going to do it one track at a time though, just because if I pulled all of them out, it would kind of limit what I can do because of the limited length of the drill track. I don't know if you can see, but a coal train's going through right now. It's kind of hidden by all the double stacks. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and push this group of cars into track 4 of the yard. So just those cars that just got pushed into the track here. The first group of 3 are Deluxe Innovations, 3 Setwell cars, and then the second group is also the Deluxe Innovations. I had that one for quite a while. The 3 unit one is fairly new, a couple years old. The 5 unit is much older. I've had that for about 10 years. And the containers in the 5 unit one are from Jacksonville Terminal, and in the 3 unit one it was containers from Scale Trains. I decided to follow the yard locomotives here a little bit more as we're doing these car movements. And so it's now going to get the turnout set for track 2. So as you can see, those tracks, you can see the 2 mainline tracks, and then track 1 where the K-line units are, and then track 2, which I thought we were going to go into, but we're not. Looks like we're going into track 3. And then track 4 is the next one where we just set the cars. And so I'm going to try and remember these different intermodal cars. So in track 4 we had the 2 Deluxe Innovations sets. And now we're going to be pulling out the first set there. Looks like a Cotto. Cars there are Cotto Maxi 1s, and they're 40 foot in length. And the containers, the APL, are from Cotto. I think the red ones too. The red ones are too. So I stopped recording the audio there for a second and went on the Kato website and got this all figured out. So the Maxi 1s were the ones that came out first. They're 5 wells articulated, and they're 40 foot in length. So they're our older units. And then there you see the Pacer 3 unit ones. Those are Maxi 4s, and that's 3 wells articulated, and those are 53 foot length wells for 53 foot containers. And the cars as well as the containers are Katos. So Maxi 1 are the older ones, and Maxi 4s are the newer ones. And I'm not really sure what the Maxi 2 and Maxi 3s are, and I'm not even sure if there is a Maxi 5. I'm kind of thinking there probably is. I believe the Deluxe Innovation 3 unit well cars are also Maxi 4s, and the Deluxe Innovation 5 unit well cars are Maxi 3s. Alright, so we got it all figured out here as we see 2 manifest trains going through. So on the layout we have Maxi 1s, Maxi 3s, and then Maxi 4s. So anyway, it's taking 2 cars now from the classification tracks, and it's putting it into the track vacated. And then we'll go ahead and pull out the other track and replace it with some cars from the classification tracks as well. Alright, so it's pulling out the cars from the second load and unload track. Looks like those are Kato Maxi 4s with Kato containers. The CN is Kato as well as the EMP. There are also the hub group containers are from scale trains. And we'll go ahead and push these into one of the tracks. Be interesting to see how this looks different when I get the Global 3 weathered a little bit more, and then of course get these two locomotives weathered quite a bit. Alright, so it looks like we put those into track 3. And then we'll go ahead and pull out some more cars to put those into the vacated track. And let's see what these cars are. I can tell already that that's a another Cotto with some Cotto containers. Wish I could get more of those IMAX, those dark blue IMAX containers. Saw a lot of those around Rochelle, so could definitely use a few more. So far, not. Actually, they're not IMAX; they're UMAX, I believe. But anyway, definitely saw a lot of those containers around Rochelle. And then again, that hub group containers, the scale trains, and then the Canadian Tire container is actually a Concours container. I got those because I thought they looked cool, but then I got to thinking, I'm not sure if those containers ever make it into the United States. I kind of looked it up a little bit after I purchased those containers, and Canadian Tire is some kind of a franchise in Canada. So I guess they could import tires from China or something and come in through Los Angeles and then go into Canada from there. Seems like it'd be more likely they would take it to Vancouver and go across Canada, but not sure what all the facts are around that. I'm sure somebody out there watching this video will know. I have learned so much about different prototypical operations from comments, so I definitely appreciate that. As long as it's done in a at least somewhat respectful way, which it has been so far. Okay, so we'll go ahead and set those. So we've added 2 cars to the train ILTAH, and we've swapped out cars from the classification track to and from the load and unload tracks. And one last task will be to pull the train back so that so that there'll be room to attach locomotives to the train. You can hear my footsteps, by the way. There's a lot of movement back and forth between operating the camera and throwing the turnouts and operating the throttle. You can hear me kind of trouncing around there a little bit. So we're hooked up to the train again, and we'll go ahead and pull it. Right now the front end of the train is extending into the drill track on the other side of the yard, and so we need to pull the train towards this end of the yard so that locomotives that will continue with this train can get out of the engine facilities and connect up to the train and get ready for departure. Again, you have two trains going by. As this is a pretty cool scene right here with the yard crew pulling the train in the yard and two trains going by on the main line. Not that unusual to be able to see that taking place in Rochelle. A lot of train activity. All right, so now the locomotives are ready to get reconnected. We're going to use a different set this time, but at this time, we're already half an hour into this video, so we're going to end this video now, and we'll pick it up with part 3, which will be connecting the locomotives to the train and heading on out eastward across the Union Pacific Railroad Geneva Subdivision. Till then, have a great holiday weekend, and stay tuned for part 3 coming up tomorrow, hopefully. Take care.